Hi everybody, welcome to this week's SCTimes Sports Report. I'm Tom Elliott, my sidekick Mick Hatton. We're here to talk all things Central Minnesota sports. Not all things, but at least the things that we think might be more important than others. We're going to start with high school football. How are you doing, Mick?
I'm doing,
by the way, yeah.
A little bit of a cold, so I'll tough it out.
Did you pick that up at Michie Field?
I might have. It was a little nippy on Tuesday.
It indeed was. There was even a space heater up in the Sauk Rapids press box where I was. And it looks like it's going to be really cold on Saturday. There was a lot of high school football action Tuesday night. We're going to talk about the games on Saturday. We're going to assume everybody kind of knows what happened Tuesday. Start in Section 6, 5A with the big boys. First game I have on the docket is 4th-seeded Sauk Rapids. The Storm are 6-3. They are at Elk River. Elk River, the number 1 seed, 7-1, defending state champions. That game's scheduled for 3 p.m. Ought to be interesting. I don't know. I should ask myself questions since I went and saw Sauk Rapids.
Yeah, what kind of popped at you about Sauk Rapids beating Osseo? I mean, because that was not as easy a matchup as maybe.
Oh, it was a 4-5. 4-5.
Yeah.
And it looked like a 4-5 game. Osseo is, you have to think about, you got to know about Osseo is they're 2 years removed from winning the 6-5A state title. They are, I believe, the largest class 5A school in the state. They had a gigantic offensive line, by far the biggest offensive line I've seen all year, probably the biggest Sauk Rapids has seen all year, and 2 great running backs. What Sauk Rapids did, got to give their coaching staff a great some kudos for a great game plan. They saw that Osseo loves to play man-to-man in the passing game, and so the Storm burned them for 4 long touchdown passes, the shortest of which was 22 yards. And those 4 touchdowns just were pivotal in this game. That they were absolutely the difference, because in the yardage game, Osseo ran for over 300 yards rushing, and the defense bent but didn't break. There were no big costly mistakes. Osseo managed to get 2 good touchdown drives together. It was a great win for Sauk Rapids. First since 2010. 2010, coincidentally, was the last time Sauk Rapids was in the state tournament. That year they advanced all the way to the quarterfinals, and I remember this game well because they played Totino Grace at St. Cloud State, and in those days there wasn't a 6A yet, and Totino Grace was a 6A team in every sense of the word, and dominated that one. But yeah, Storm are going against a great offensive team. Elk River is all about misdirection and kind of trying to trick you about where the ball's going a little bit, and big running backs, and they come right at you. If Elk River's doing it the way they like to do it, they're going to have 60 attempts on the ground for 400 yards. That's what they're going to try and do to Sauk Rapids. Osseo tried that strategy a little bit too, is try to go right at Sauk. Sauk did a good job with it. I'm kind of in the world where Elk River at home, defending state champion.
Tough.
I'm taking the Elks here. I'm taking the Elks.
I can see why. I mean, it's tough to, we haven't seen Elk River, but we've seen the scores and what their schedules look like, and it's tough to imagine Sauk Rapids. Even as good, I mean, it's been a great season for Sauk Rapids. I mean, man alive, they've come up with some big wins, and this has been a great stepping stone, I think, for them. Just kind of moving the whole program forward.
Yeah, an elevation of the program, absolutely. Other semifinal 6-5A also has a lot of local interest. That's 3rd-seeded St. Cloud Tech at 2nd-seeded Rogers. That game's going to be at 2 o'clock on Saturday at Rogers. Tech, what was that score? That was a crazy 62-6 over Monticello. Tigers are as healthy as they've been probably all season. All the great skill kids. Another incredible performance by Brevin Spanford, who has scored 10 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Amazing. Rogers, the Royals are just slightly ahead of Tech and QRF. They're ranked 11th in the state. Tech's ranked 14th. Rogers got a bye because of that. The big deal with Rogers is that they are the one team that has beaten Elk River in the last 2 years. That's that's a really big feather in their cap. Royals, I haven't seen this year. I saw them last year against a pretty good Sartell team, and they dominated Sartell that day. Well, Sartell had its moments. They're well coached. I think if you're looking for a good upset pick, we have 9 area games. This is one of the 9 that I think Tech has a really good chance. And I'm going on comparative scores. Comparative scores are always a little dicey.
Touchy.
You can have, Kimball beating Eden Prairie if you do it right.
Yeah, right.
And no knock on Kimball. Very good Class A competitive season this year, but nobody around here is touching Eden Prairie, and Eden Prairie is number 1 in 6A. The Rogers Royals beat Monticello like 3 weeks ago, 32-27. Tech just beat Monticello 62-6. Rogers is allowing, let me get it right here, I have it in front of me, folks, 23.8 points a game, while Tech has been scoring 40.2 points a game and allowing 12.3. Now, I'm going to say Rogers' schedule is good, but it's not crazy better than
Tech's.
No, they're both in the North Central District. It's just Rogers is in one division of it and Tech's in another. I'm going to take the Tigers. You can call me a homer. I'm bleeding black and orange, but I think Tech can win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, that is a fascinating matchup, and you wonder again here. We've talked kind of all season long about the skill set that Tech kind of brings and all the athletes that they're able to throw at things, and here's a big test for them, and on the road at Rogers. That'd be a fun game to see. I'd be fascinated to see that game.
The winners of those 2 semifinals on Saturday played 7 p.m. Friday, November 3rd at Buffalo. We're going to move to Section 8-4A. We've got our good friends, St. Cloud Apollo Eagles, the 4 seed at number 1 seeded Ricori. That game is a 2 p.m. game Saturday at Cold Spring. Mr. Hatton, give me your report on the Little Falls Apollo game.
Well, Little Falls actually, it ends up being a 33-8 game, but Little Falls in the first half, unfortunately, for the Flyers, they kept shooting themselves in the foot. They got down to the 6. They had second and goal on the Apollo 6-yard line to start the second quarter. They were down 7-0. They fumbled. They lost the fumble, and then their next possession, they get the ball down to the Apollo 9, and they had 4 penalties in the drive, and ended up turning the ball over on down. So Little Falls scored right at the end of the first half. So they took an 8-7 lead into the second half, and so you're sitting there going, well, the way the Little Falls moving the ball, I mean, this is going to be a fascinating second half, and we'll see if Apollo conversely had started to struggle, moving the ball after they scored on their first drive, and Apollo came out to start the second half, and Nick Gill, had a 89-yard touchdown run right out on the first play from scrimmage, and the second half kind of went Apollo's way after that. But it was I thought it was a closer. I mean, that's a classic old school thing to say or whatever, but it felt like a much closer game than 33-8. Apollo kind of scored late in the game to make it look a little bit, bigger margin than it really was. But the other guy that really, Nick Gill, ends up rushing for 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards.
By far his best game of the year, not even close. Now, but although we'll add the caveat, he's been starting on defense all year as one of their key linebackers and plays all the time on defense. They've rotated him in on offense over the year.
At 5'6", I mean.
Yeah, but 180, he's put together.
Well, he is put together, but I mean, you don't see a lot of guys that are able to kind of take that kind of pounding at the 4A level on both ways like that. I mean, there are a few guys, but I was impressed with Nick's performance, and then. But Abraham Heinen I think he had 3 sacks in the first half. They moved him from tight end to running back because they had a guy
leave the program.
Twist. Well, they had a guy with an ankle problem too, so they moved him from tight end, and so he ended up rushing a few times. And I kind of led with Abraham because Justin Skollerud had some fun things to say about him, and just talking about his skill set, and, how he's big and strong and fast on top of
3 sacks.
Yeah, and so that was a good game for him. And now they're getting a Rocori team that I've seen a couple of times. And,
Me too.
The first time these teams met, I think it was 20-3 for Rocori. Apollo feels like they've gotten to be a much better offensive team since week 2. But Rocori's probably as good defensively as maybe anybody in the area, Tom. I mean, do you agree with that? Or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean...
Sauk Rapids would be up there for sure.
So it's going to be an interesting matchup, from that standpoint, just, to see if Apollo is, can they sustain drives against Rocori? Can they, find a way to... be consistent throughout the game. One of the things that Justin talks about is that they're still kind of a young team. They're still kind of, they only won 1 game last year. He said, we're still kind of figuring out ways to win games. Rocori obviously has had that down this season going in at 8-0. So
they've had it down for the last 4 years.
Yeah, right. So it's a tough matchup for Apollo from that standpoint, but I think it has a chance to be a good game, and I know you're going out to it.
Yeah, I will be. William J. Verant Memorial Field in beautiful Cold Spring, Minnesota. The Spartans, I think one thing that gets overlooked a little bit right now is the Spartans on Tuesday probably had a light practice. Just trying to loosen up a little and stay, keep their conditioning, and nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody got pounded on. And this time of year, this is what, I see this over and over with the Minnesota playoff format, where we go MEA week on a Wednesday, playoff game on a Tuesday, playoff game on a Saturday, 3 games in 11 days. It starts to add up. That could be a real factor, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I'm going with Rocori. I think they're the clear favorites there. But, I'm interested to see how much better Apollo is since they lost to Rocori 20-3 after week 1. That was a week 2 game. Yeah. So, and I think Apollo is clearly better. Neil Benson, the quarterback, is way better when I saw him at the end of the year against Becker than when I saw him beginning of the year against Tech. He's made a lot of improvements. Apollo's sorted a lot of things out offensively and defensively. So I think they're ready to give Rocori a really good game. And then just for, on my end, Detroit Lakes had the upset. They beat Wilmer last week. Remember me calling Wilmer in the section final?
Yeah.
Wilmer's out in the first round. Yeah. DL beat them 41-40. DL is at Fergus Falls on Saturday. Winner of the DL Fergus Falls game plays the winner of the Rocori Apollo game. That's 7 p.m. Friday, November 3rd at Alexandria. We're going to move now to section 6-4A. We've got Becker at Delano. Bulldogs coming off a 42-12 win over Princeton. No surprise there. Delano, the 2nd seed, had a bye. The teams haven't met this year. Delano has 1 loss. It's a top 10 team in the state. The Tigers have a number 10 QRF ranking. Becker's a number 23 QRF ranking. I like Becker's chances in this if they can get past this game. I think Delano is going to be salty. Tigers play a pretty decent, strong schedule, and Becker's played arguably the best regular season schedule they've played in at least 5 years this year.
Yeah, you look up and down their schedule. There have been very few. That's a for sure Becker win. And Becker's got a good team this season, and so that's saying something about the schedule that they've got. I think Becker is, as the season has gone on, has gotten to be a little bit more dependent on their run just from following them a little bit.
But the Apollo game, they passed really well.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, can they mix it up against Delano? I mean, or is Delano going to try and take one part of their offense away from them? That's kind of the big question with that one, I think. Is if Becker's able to kind of mix it up and able to, run Boros and have Phoebe kind of picking guys off with kind of passes across the middle and down the sideline. I mean, Becker has his chance of winning this game.
I'm going to pick Becker, to be honest.
There you go.
Because Becker's played a schedule bar none that'll as good as anybody in 4A, and I'm just going to count on their coaches' playoff experience and that's a very good coaching staff there. And I think they have the outstanding skill people. Lucas Dertinger would be another one I would mention, the fine wideout, that they have a good shot at this, and I think they'll match up with Delano well. Now, the winner of that game, and that game is at 7 o'clock at Delano. I haven't seen it moved back or anything. We've had a lot of games moved early. Would play the winner of Big Lake at Zimmerman on Saturday. The finals for Section 4A would be 1 p.m. Saturday, November 4th at Monticello High School on the turf there. We're going to move down to Section 6-3A. We have at the top of the list here, number 4, Melrose, at number 1, Piers, and also number 3, New London Spicer, at number 2, Albany. In this instance, in the semifinals, both games of seeds held. Both games are scheduled for 7 o'clock. Piers had the bye in the 17th section, so the Pioneers are sitting there. They're 8-0, and they got to watch Melrose have a 40-19 win over Litchfield. Litchfield, I honestly thought that would be a close, tough game, and Melrose made it a very comfortable win. These two teams met during the regular season. Piers beat Melrose 17-0. On my noon web chat today, a guy named Rick G, who seemed to know a lot about Piers, and maybe has a really good radio voice.
Yes.
But I'm not sure who it is.
No.
But it might have been Rick Grammond. Happy birthday, Rick. Mentioned that in that game, Piers had 14 penalties. Melrose had 10 penalties. And it was on a terribly hot and humid night where they had multiple water breaks. And none of that stuff is probably going to happen on Saturday. I'd be astonished if there were 24 penalties, and nobody's going to get a water break on Saturday night. Melrose has had a really, really good season. The Dutchmen have put in a new offense, installed a new offense this year. Senior dominated. They balanced out the running and passing attack. They use a lot of different weapons. Regan Nelson, the junior quarterback, real good athlete, also fine basketball player, has done a nice job at quarterback, mixing things up. And that said, this is playoff time. Piers is going to focus on what it does well. It's going to move people into positions they play well. It's not going to see if they can get 12 guys to carry the ball in the first half. They're going to do what they do best, and Melrose is going to have to stop it. I think Pioneers are a favorite here.
Yeah, Pierce has got actually a pretty big senior class as well, which
that's not unusual there, though.
No, but so I like the experience factor, I guess, for Pierce, and Pierce playing at home. I mean, in the playoffs, you don't see them lose very many at home when we get to the postseason.
Next game is New London Spicer at Albany. Wildcats coming off a 28-21 win over Cathedral. In other words, the Crusaders gave them a good ball game after a 40-10 victory over Cathedral early in the season. And then Albany beat the 7th seed Montevideo 22-6. This should be interesting because they closed the regular season last Wednesday, and Albany beat New London Spicer 38-36. It's real simple what's going to happen here. Which team is going to make the fewest errors and mistakes? If that's Albany, Albany wins. If that's New London Spicer, New London Spicer is going to win. Neither team is dominant enough to dominate the other team. They're pretty equally balanced, although they play very different styles. New London has no problem throwing the ball up quite a bit, and Albany only passes a lot if they're in trouble. So as long as Albany stays close, that they're going to run the ball and do what Albany does best. And I see it as a toss-up game. Honestly, I think it could go either way. I do bleed a little purple. I know.
Yes, you do.
I know a couple people.
Got a few veins.
I got some blood in the school district there, but I think Albany at Michael Field is probably got a slight advantage.
Yeah, the interesting. Yeah, I mean,
because I ought to point out as well that I believe when we were talking about New London Spencer Albany, I picked New London to win the last time, and Albany beat them by 2. So
there you have it. So now you're going with Albany this time, and that's fine.
Okay. Well, I try to play it even, but
I know you do.
Okay, and so anyway, that game's at 7 o'clock. The winners of the Piers Melrose and New London Spicer Albany games, they play at 8 p.m. Friday, November 3rd at St. Cloud State's beautiful Husky Stadium. It's a doubleheader, probably be about 8:15 before we get going there. We're going to move to Section 5, 2A. Got a couple of fun games. This is my favorite section in the area this year. Excuse me, sir. Didn't mean to cough in your ear there. Eden Valley Watkins is at Painesville in one 5-2A game, and that's going to be at 2 o'clock Saturday. Other game is Holdingford at Minnewaska area. That's Glenwood, folks. That'll be 2 o'clock Saturday. As we talked about, see now, I admit all my mistakes. Wilmer, that was a terrible mistake. New London, playing New London and not going with the home team, that was a mistake. This section I kind of got right. Eden Valley Watkins was the 5th seed, so of course they beat the 4th seed, Sauk Center, 49-22. Holdingford was the 6th seed, so of course they beat the number 3 seed Atwater Cosmos Grove City. Sorry, Andy. 34-13. And then the Benson-Minnewaska game, as expected, was a blowout, 55-14. Painesville's the only team that got to sit and watch on Tuesday. I think that's going to be an advantage for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs also beat Eden Valley during the regular season, although Eden Valley Watkins, I believe, led that game 30-6 and ended up losing.
That's right. They had the big comeback in the second
50
half.
something to 30,
Yeah,
or was it
55 or
yeah?
30
So
or something like that.
no, Painesville's not going in there thinking they're going to walk in.
No.
And that'll be a fun game, guys. That's if you like high school football and it'll be in the afternoon, that'd be a fun one to go to.
Well, a couple of fun offenses, where they mix things up and it's not just jamming it down people's throats. I mean, both teams like to mix it up with the pass, a lot of motion type things.
They'll go razzle dazzle on you.
Yeah.
They'll see how far can the guy throw it 50 yards down the field. They'll give it a shot once or twice a half.
Yeah, that would be a fun game to go to. That'd be a lot of fun
Bulldogs,
to see the offense there.
Bulldogs a favorite just because of my 3 games in 11 days theory, and Painesville didn't have to do that. This is only their 2nd game in 11 days.
And Painesville's a little bit bigger up front than Eden Valley Watkins.
And that'll be a factor.
And that'll be a factor, particularly if you're talking the 3 games in 11 days. You go up against a team that's a little bit bigger, more physical. I mean, that might wear the toll there.
Anyway, Holdingford was the 3rd team to pull off an upset from the Mid-State Sub-District 1, which used to be the Central Minnesota Conference. Howard Lake Waverly was a 7th seed and also won Tuesday night. So that conference is the Conference of Kings.
The Conference of Kings.
That's an inside Times Sports Department joke. We've called it the Conference of Kings for years. Proved itself once again that it's pretty darn good in football because 3 underdogs, according to the seeds, all won. And frankly, I think Holdingford's got a real good shot against
I was just going to pick Holdingford. I mean, I like that upset too. I mean, I just think that they've had, like you're saying, the conference or district or however you want to put it. I mean, their schedule during the regular season has been very difficult, and I think Holdingford's one of those teams that has a chance to do some damage here.
Now, Minnewaska traditionally hasn't been like lights out in football, but they're having a good year. They're I believe they're 7-2 now, 7-2 after. So it'll be a tough game, but I like it. I think I'm going to just take Minnewaska just so I can increase the amount of soft drinks you're going to owe me here at the end of the season. But for no other reason than that, good luck, Luke Mitchell and the gang. I'm sure they're going to do great on Saturday. And that's a 2 o'clock game. Winner of that game plays the winner of Painesville Eden Valley Watkins. 7 p.m. Friday, November 3rd, at Clemens Stadium at St. John's University. So if you, like, for instance, had a Painesville holding for it or an Eden Valley holding for it at St. John's,
There'll be some people out there.
that place will be hopping. It'll be fun. We move to the last, what I would call area contest that we have left on the schedule. And this is in section 7-2A, where we're at the far south end of this section. The number 1 seeded Royalton Royals are playing Aiken Gobblers.
The Gobblers.
And I just like saying Aiken Gobblers. Aiken was a 4 seed. They won Tuesday night. They're 4-5. Royalton's 7-1. Royalton, I think, is a favorite in this section. I think they're going to win this game on Saturday. And that section final is the following Friday, November 3rd, at ESCO.
Who's the other game?
Yeah, it's USA, a fun one too.
Is USA in there?
No. USA's classic. USA's
Class 1A.
Yeah, but it's Moose Lake Willow River at Barnum. Two great football programs in the northeast part of the state on your way up to Duluth. Moose Lake Willow River is the traditional favorite, been to the state numerous times. This year, kind of a rebuilding year for them. They're 4-5. Your Barnum Bombers 7-2. So Barnum would be the slight favorite there. The winner of that will get the Royalton Aiken winner in ESCO.
In ESCO.
We are turning the page, figuratively and literally. I'm Tom Elliott. This is the SCTimes Sports Report. Your sponsorship here, if you want me to mention somebody. This is Mick Hatton, my fellow partner in crime at the St. Cloud Times Media Sports Department. We are switching to some volleyball playoffs. They got underway Tuesday, kicked in a little bit more Wednesday, and today, Thursday, we have some really fun matches on tap, as well as on Friday. There's some more volleyball on Saturday. It's volleyball season, and I'm going to be Friday night at a Section 8-3A game. It'll be Sartell at Sauk Rapids. That's 7 p.m. Flipping the page.
Switching gears. There you go.
Storm have had a magnificent season. Sauk Rapids is 20. I think they're 23-5 or 24-5.
Something like that. Yeah.
It says 22-5 here. That doesn't sound right. Sartell on Wednesday night beat Monticello. It was a 4-matcher, 3-1. Sauk Rapids beat them during the regular season. Just a fun rivalry. A lot of it's classic metro area sporting thing where everybody knows everybody. Sauk Rapids has had their best volleyball season in quite a while. They're the number 2 seed in Section 8-3A. Number 1 seeded Wilmer is the other game we're going to talk about Friday. They're playing number 8 St. Cloud Apollo. Apollo had a 3-set victory over your Becker Bulldogs.
Good win for the Eagles.
Yep. And they're going to have to try and beat Wilmer, and it was a quick one during the regular season, if I remember right. Winners on Friday, and there are 4 quarters. We're in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
I'll play Tuesday at high seed. So Sauk Rapids wins on Friday. They'd be playing the Moorhead Brainerd winner Tuesday at Sauk Rapids. And if Wilmer were to beat Apollo, they'd be playing the Alexandria Bemidji winner at Wilmer 2 p.m. or 7 p.m. Tuesday. Final is set for Saturday, November 4th. It says neutral site. It's going to depend. If it's Wilmer, Sauk Rapids, there's a good chance it'll be at St. Ben's or a venue like that. If it's up north, I'm sure they might go that way, and maybe it just depends on who's left. But Sauk Rapids has their best shot at going to state in a very long time. Going to move to Section 6-2A, and
here's two of the best area volleyball teams. I mean, are in this section from the Times area.
Now we divide the West subsection and the East subsection, and the West subsection in 6-2A is just silly, folks. It is ridiculous. There are 7 teams in the West subsection. 6 of them have 19 wins or better. The only team with a losing record in the section is Little Falls, and they're playing, I got this wrong, it's 7 teams with a winning record, 6 of them 19 wins or better. Ricori's the number 1 seed. They're the only ones where I'm pretty confident Ricori's the team that's going to win. And this is a game tonight, Thursday night. We also have Sauk Center and Holdingford. That's going to be a war. Sauk Center is a 5th seed, believe it or not.
That's very hard to believe.
Piers at Cathedral. That's a 7th seed at a 2 seed. Cathedral's had a great year. That's going to be a war.
I think Cathedral's only lost 3 times.
Yep. And then we have also tonight Melrose at Albany. That's a 6 seed at a 3 seed. That's going to be a war. Everybody will play next Tuesday night at the high seeds, and then we go to Thursday, November 2nd. The semifinals move to Sauk Rapids, with the final on Saturday, November 4th. That's at St. Cloud State. You get through the West subsection, it ain't over.
Yeah.
Because the number 1 seed in the East subsection is undefeated Maple Lake, the defending state champion. So if anybody tells you there's a section better than 6 in 2A,
They're lying,
yeah, they're not right. We'll go through quickly here. Malacca, a 6 seed in the East, plays at number 3 Howard Lake. Foley has got a home match as a 4 seed against Dassel Cokato. That's also 7 o'clock Thursday. And then we'll quickly mention Section 5A. Kimball got a 2 seed in their South Pod, and they're playing the number 3 seed Kirkove and Murdoch, Sunberg High School. And that game is Friday night at 7. And Royalton got the number 1 seed in their South Pod, and they're playing the winner of tonight's Upsala Long Prairie Gray Eagle match. And again, they're going to go Tuesday at sites to be determined. I know this is at the championship in this section, and it's a expansive section. It's all over the place.
Miles,
yeah. It ends up on Saturday, November 4th at Piers.
Gotcha.
Flip another page.
One more page.
And I want Mr. Hatton to get some good video time. Smile at the people, Mick. Say hi to your mom.
Yeah, I don't think my mom. Well, my mom doesn't have the internet, so. But
Your
we'll say hi to
kid,
her.
she doesn't?
She does not have. They
Well,
don't
let's
have
say
internet.
hi to your brother,
Yeah,
Jim.
hi to both my brothers and my sister.
Your brother Jim teaches this stuff.
I know he does. Yeah.
College football.
College football at St. Cloud State, Northern State at St. Cloud State. St. Cloud State improved to 6-2 with a big 33-7 win at Mary. Apparently, the wind was blowing about 50 miles an hour in that game.
Had a negative yard punt or something.
Well, there was a kickoff that Adam Page kicked off that Steve Grimmett on Sports Chat yesterday.
Who's Steve Grimmett?
Steve Grimmett's assistant coach at St. Cloud State and defensive line coach. He's been there for 25 years.
At least, yeah.
He said they saw something that he's never seen before. St. Cloud State goes down, scores a touchdown, kicking off in the second half. He said we watched the ball go up in the air, and it kind of hung there, and then it kind of came back, and St. Cloud State's kicker ended up recovering his own kick, and St. Cloud State ends up kind of moving on from there. Kicker ends up also setting a school record with a 55-yard field goal, and had a 48-yarder in that game. So obviously that was with a little bit of wind help, but he's kicked a 47-yarder earlier in the season. So that's been a different weapon for St. Cloud State. They've had real problems in the kicking game in the last several years, and that's kind of helped them out. But they're sitting there at 6-2 with Northern State. Northern State's a team that'll come in. I think St. Cloud State lost by 1 point last year to Northern. Northern's going to mix it up a little bit more than Mary does. Mary likes to try and pound the ball at you.
Yeah, they don't pass at all.
Yeah, Northern will try and mix it up a little bit more, so it'll be an interesting game for St. Cloud State. And then St. John's is off this week?
St. John's is off this week. This is the bye week built into the schedule because McAllister does not play in the MIAC. And I should mention that they play in the UMAC. Do you know who is undefeated in the UMAC right now.
I saw this St. Scholastica.
St. Scholastica hasn't lost
since the '98 donut.
Since they lost 98-0 to St. John's. There's a difference in the talent levels between the UMAC and the MIAC.
I believe so. Their next game's at Hamlin. Is that
November 4th?
So that'll be in.
And then November 11th is the time to get excited, Johnny fans. That's the Concordia Cobbers coming into Clemens Stadium. That'll basically be a playoff game because if Johnnies lose, they might not make the playoffs. And if the Cobbers lose, they might not make the playoffs. So somebody who wins that will probably have one loss and make the playoffs, and the other team will be out. So it'll be a big game. It'll be a very good atmosphere. And then the never-ending men's hockey season at St. Cloud State that starts in August and ends in July. Is it something like that? Am I exaggerating a little?
It feels that way. The captain's practices start in August, but yeah, they're coming off a big non-conference series.
Boston College.
Sweep of Boston College at home, and that's a Boston College team that is going to win some games.
How many national championships has Boston College won in the last decade?
I think it's either 4 or 5 since 2000. Since 2000, I think it's 5 since 2000, but now I'm going to screw it up and get called on it.
It's more than St. Cloud is one.
That's very true. St. Cloud State next week opens up NCHC play against Minnesota Duluth.
Fun.
Minnesota Duluth.
Is that here?
That's here.
7:30ish, 7 o'clock.
7:37, 7:07. UMD made it to the national championship game last season before losing to Denver, and that's the next thing for St. Cloud State. So they get UMD, and then they're at Denver the following week. Now, if somehow St. Cloud State, at least splits and things work out right, that could be a number 2 versus number 1 in the polls, with St. Cloud State being at Denver. So it's setting up to be very interesting. St. Cloud State off to a 5-0 start for the first time since I think it was 2001, 2002.
Last time they were number 2 in the country was what, 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2015-16 when they won 31 games. That season they had a stretch where they were in number 1.
And then we gotta sign off here because we're going long. What's with Las Vegas and Nate Schmidt and the gang? That's like the best expansion team in the history of the NHL.
Yeah, I think
usually they're horrible. The expansion teams of the NHL.
7-1. I think they're 7-1 or something like that to start off with. I mean,
and guess what? It's taken all of 8 games for Nate Schmidt to be extremely popular on all your social media, and all the TV stations in Vegas interview him regularly. Nate is a Cathedral grad, former golfer, and just a darn nice guy.
Right, and Nate had an interesting offseason in that he ended up getting taken in the expansion draft. He had been with the Capitals before that, and was lamenting it a little bit, and then ended up with a nice contract, and now Las Vegas. Now, can they sustain that? I mean, I'm not sure, but boy, they've definitely been one of the big stories in the NHL in the early season.
And then I'll mention the one other local young man who's making lots of money, as is Nate Schmidt, is our good friend Nate Walters from St. Cloud Tech and South Dakota State. He's one of Ricky Rubio's backups at point guard for the Utah Jazz right now.
Yeah, good for Nate. And that's, we're always fighting an uphill battle of catching up to guys, and we need to catch up with Nate here sometime soon. Just got to check in with him. But
got to see when the next time they play the Wolves are.
Well, and great for Nate, because Nate has certainly put in some travel miles in the last few years of playing in Turkey and overseas for.
Yeah, and this, at least in active NBA games, because I know he's been off season, he's been in other places. This would be his 3rd NBA team. He was originally with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then he did the New Orleans Pelicans. And so now we're going to try out, the Rocky Mountains in the West and go out to Utah now, play in Salt Lake City. So, and those are the short trips he's had. So,
yeah, good for Nate, and hopefully, I know he kind of made the team because of an injury and stuff. But hopefully, Nate does enough that he's maybe able to stick with you too.
Well, he's long past the 10-day contract now, so
Yeah.
he's got some good money coming in. So that's nice to hear.
Yeah, good for him.
This is Tom Elliott. That's Mick Hatton. This is the SCTimes Sports Report. I almost get it right. For producer Chris Beeth, we want to thank you for putting up with us, and we'll be back here 2 o'clock next Thursday.